morning, Internet world. Happy Memorial Day to everybody that's out there. It's been a few days since we've done a podcast out here. Obviously, today's the day we celebrate the people who died in world wars for us. So condolences for everybody that's out putting flowers on graves today and remembering them who are no longer with us. So, want to thank you for their service and for their sacrifice. So. With that being said, today I have somebody down from the dark side, so joining us. So I probably won't have a lot of these people out here because I think I scare them sometimes. But I'm going to have Brandon Bushey on with me. Brandon, yes, he works for my franchise, and yes, I need to keep him employed. We've already had this discussion. So, but he works for AirServe Corporate. He's down. His office is in Waco, but he lives down by Temple. He's like us here in Iowa. They've had some storms here in the last couple weeks here. And Brandon, how you doing today?
Oh, doing great. Doing a little recovery from some tornadoes. I know up in the Iowa area, you guys have shared that. So feels like a lot of folks are recovering from tornadoes right now.
Boy, some of the stuff that I've seen, down in Texas, up here, and just some of the levels of devastation it's done. And it's what I saw. There was a truck stop hit in northern Texas or Oklahoma that had just annihilated it. It's like holy cow. So
Yeah. Well,
but
the linemen, you just kind of, you go back to just really appreciating the guys and ladies that are out there working these lines and putting the poles back in the ground and getting everybody powered up. It's you forget about them until you really need them out there working in pretty poor conditions. So
oh,
you know, hats off
oh yeah.
to those ladies and gentlemen that are doing that across
I
the
know
country.
I know up in this part of the country, Mid America Energy, actually, my son's girlfriend's dad works for him. And, when it's time to go, this time of year storms, listen, it's the reason they make what they make. It's not because they come and change a light bulb in your light socket outside. It's when it's crappy and it's lightning and stuff's down that they got to get up on a boom truck 40 foot up in the air and, put their life on the line to make sure you have,
Oh yeah.
internet and lights and all that fun stuff. So,
Of course, and people are whizzing by them at, speeding by them while they're trying to come in off areas. I was watching all that stuff, and they've got, for certain parts of Temple, there was some cars that were thrown. I don't know how far, but I saw a dumpster get moved, an actual heavy duty roll off dumpster from the back of a restaurant got moved across the street, a road, and just planted neatly across the way there. So some pretty decent wins for sure.
evidently it needed to be relocated. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I'll tell you here lately, we had here last week, we had a guy talking about road construction, and I kind of get off subject. We'll get into some other stuff here. But yeah, we had a guy from Neola, Iowa. Of course, Minden got hit 2 weeks ago, but road construction up north of Counts Bluffs, between Counts Bluffs and Underwood, if you're heading towards Des Moines, if you know the area at all, got hit on the side of the road construction. UPS driver wasn't paying attention, and they were doing asphalt repair, and young man, family, known in the community.
Man.
It's just because somebody's in a damn hurry, and that's the thing when you do any of these jobs, linemen, whatever, everybody wants to speed by and get on, but man, you got to pay attention, folks. I mean, there's there's no sense of losing a life because of being senseless and not paying attention or look at your damn phone. I mean, it's, I want to come home to my wife and kids. Well, my kids and my wife may not want me to come home, but I want to at least be alive just in case they want to see me. So,
That's it. Just in case they might have a hankering for a visit or a conversation at some point.
They might need money at some point.
Well, I tell you, you're probably like me, worth a lot more money, not around than here, at least.
Doing a lot.
Yeah, instantaneous standpoint, right?
I keep telling my wife that, but she keeps me around, so I guess it must not be all bad. So,
Yeah.
So I must have at least one endearing quality. So,
Yeah, there's one there somewhere. I couldn't name it if you asked me this, but I'm sure there's got to be something there, Travis. You
Oh
put me on the
boy,
spot.
here we go. Yeah, what's the dear quality? It's not my looks. It's not my charm. It's none of that stuff.
Hmm.
So well, let's talk a little bit about your background a little bit. I know you've worked for my franchise, which if you anybody ever listened or watched this knows I tell you exactly how I think about my franchise, and
Yeah.
you're one of the people that I actually like. We don't always agree, and that's a good thing. So, but you've got quite a diverse background. Um, you've told me this story, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you tell kind of what your
Yeah.
history is after high school, college, dude, because you've been involved in some pretty cool stuff, actually.
Yeah. Um, so grew up in Waco area, little small town outside of Waco, and
I'm sorry.
um, yeah, it's
As long
it's
as you don't have to
far.
drink the
It's
water, it's good.
yeah. So grew up, you know, doing what country boys do, right? And but my mother was a professor or whatever, a lecturer at Baylor University for most of my life, and so education was important, but also hard work was important, and kind of struggled on which way I wanted to go. Thought I wanted to be golf course superintendent. Really like lawn and landscaping, which we kind of covered before the call here. I really love a good looking lawn. There's just something about now. My wife thinks I enjoy doing the work that gets that result, but she doesn't understand. I tell her it's like, no, no, I don't like doing the work. I like the result of the work. It's completely different. So still work, right?
The problem is no
Um,
one can do it better than you, so that's why you're doing
well,
it.
and that's right, and that's probably why my kids will not be on the mower for a while until they can get it done exactly right. But
There
that's
you go.
we'll work on that when they get a little older. But so went to kind of decided. I mean, I graduated high school in 2001, and pretty decent time to do that. However, didn't know if I wanted to go to the military, and made that decision to go to Baylor University. Things, being a hometown university didn't work out well, being, from Waco, in Waco. And went to a small Christian university, graduated there. Uh, Kind of had a decision if I wanted to go to the military after my bachelor's degree, but decided I had an opportunity to get my master's. So I got a master's in education from University Mary Hardin Baylor. And then 2008 is when I graduated. So if you think all the way back to 2008, that was a great time to graduate because they were giving money away to anybody that wanted. No, they weren't. There were no jobs to be had. There was nobody giving any money out to poor college student that wanted to own a business. So I got a gig running a really small weight training fitness facility for $10 an hour. So I thought, I was like, that's pretty decent money,
I want to
right?
point out you look like you've been working out too. Now the one thing I've been working out, 12 ounces, 16 ounces. I
Well,
don't got the guns he does. I think he wears them just to show them off. Yeah.
these are gym muscles. These aren't done by any honest work out there. There's plenty, like your son probably, he's a pretty big dude, and he gets all that the right way, most likely, right? So
Yeah, well, I got one. The one that knows the plumbing business. Yes, the one
yeah,
that's a marine out in Yuma. Well, that's all he has to do in his spare time is go left. So we
hey,
will not be fighting either one of them anytime soon because I'm
yeah,
sure
that's
I'll get
right.
my ass
Yeah,
kicked. So,
yeah, no
so,
doubt.
so you work for a gym. So you worked for a gym for a while. So
Worked for a gym, and then finally got on as a training specialist for McLean Company. So that's a Berkshire Hathaway company. Was owned by Walmart. It's grocery distribution, U.S. wide, and so started my journey there as training, then HR, then supervised several different departments, then operations manager, then interim distribution center manager, then operations manager, then DC manager for Lubbock, Texas, and DC manager for the largest division at that time, which was in Kissimmee, Florida. Approximately 1,000 hourly employees, 16 to 18 supervisors, and two operation managers, running about $4 billion of groceries and cigarettes and tobacco through that facility every year. So,
so if I was still chewing Copenhagen, you'd be the person I'd go to hook up with, right?
well, I could I could probably tell you when they're running promos and you can get a good deal on it. Right, we're the distributor.
Well,
Um, So and yeah, so learned a lot, especially from the management side there. Um, Things weren't. I was in Florida, in Central Florida, in the Orlando area, Kissimmee to be more specific, and a single man working my tail off, nobody around, and eventually I got to a point where I needed to get a life. I was like, this work thing's going okay, but I need to get a life. I'd like to get married someday. I'd like to, continue to pursue. The whole reason why I'm doing this is to have a life. And so I decided to resign and move back to Texas. And that's when I joined Dwyer Group at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
I became a coach for the grounds guys, a business coach for the grounds guys. And I had quite a bit of lawn landscaping experience from my college days. So I worked through college, had several different jobs, and lawn and landscaping was one of them. That's where I kind of, well, I wanted to be a lawn superintendent. I wanted to work for a golf course as a golf course superintendent. That was one of my thoughts. And so I just had a passion for lawn and landscaping. And so I took that into coaching, did that for a year and a half while also building an automotive repair shop with a business partner of mine. So coaching and then building my own shop, which pulled me away. My business partner couldn't get it off the ground by himself. So I had to leave coaching, get that off the ground. Um, did um, Got it at least somewhat profitable. Maybe not every month running a profit, but we got consistently profitable from a P&L standpoint. I was a technician. I tell everybody that I was a C-level technician at most.
C's
I'm
get
not one of
degrees. C's get degrees. Damn it.
you know. Well, I would say, I get paid way too much for me to be this bad of a mechanic. So, you know, and I was the parts changer extraordinaire. I was definitely not the guy that was going to figure out and be creative with it. So I said, I've got to fire myself as a technician and hire somebody that can do this faster and better. Um, so we did. I fired myself as a technician, got somebody in there. Didn't really need to run the office because we had people that were capable of that. So I called back up to Dwyer Group, which was neighborly, and said, you know, I I kind of worked myself out of a job here in this business that I'm running. I was wondering if there's any coaching available. And as a matter of fact, at that time, AirServe had an opening, and so I joined AirServe, and that was November of 2019. And so the journey began quickly after that, right into COVID, with running my own business and with supporting AirServes across the country. So coached for 5 years or so, and then recently was moved into the director of systems role, where I get to support the network from
Yeah.
a more creative standpoint.
Yeah, I want to point out I got to fill out my franchise business review, and this will be the first time since 2015 that I haven't said the first thing in my franchise business review. Have you fired so and so yet? And I'll
Oh,
leave that person blank because
I'm
he
just trying to
actually
stay off
left.
that list every time. I don't want to make the list yearly of have you fired Brandon yet? If I can do that, then all right.
Yes, I'm not afraid to put somebody on that list either. It does not
Mhm.
bother me one bit.
Well,
So,
that's one thing we love about you, Travis, is we never have to guess where you are. We know
yeah,
exactly where you are at all times.
it's just like schedule a reunion during an Iowa home game, especially when they're playing Washington. Guess what? I'm not going to be in Dallas,
And
Texas. I know this
I don't know
shocks
if you
everybody.
notice. I don't know
I
if you
saw
noticed. I've
that.
got my Iowa hat on here just for you. So
I saw that. So, um, oh my lord. So, do you still have the automotive business then, or have you, or is that still part of what you do then?
no, I sold that in 23 to my business
Okay.
partner at the time, who has since passed away. But so that's been rebranded to another automotive shop, but it's still in the same location and still operating right now.
Hmm. And you're not working there, obviously. Thank God. We don't
No,
need. There's enough C mechanics in Texas. We don't need
yeah,
enough.
like yeah, and honestly, I don't even without a lift. Once you do it with a lift for so long,
Oh
you're
yeah.
not crawling under cars
Uh,
anymore
uh,
doing
uh,
things. So I take it to get all my stuff done.
Listen, it's like me fitting in crawl spaces. I'm fat enough. I'm not going to fit in crawl space. And me trying to slide underneath the car. No, that ship is done sailed.
Yeah,
So
no, and I didn't do it for that long, but well, comparatively, I mean, I did it for several years, but um, no, I appreciate the skills that those technicians have. I'll take it to them and let a professional do it. Same thing with my HVAC system. Um, I'll try things once if and I know how it works though because I've had this in the automotive space where an owner will mess things up far beyond what should have happened if you had a professional do it to begin with. So I know that, so I don't push myself too far, especially with the HVAC side. I know how to do it, but then again,
mm,
a phone call away is my air
mm.
reserve out here.
Yeah,
I'll get those guys out
yeah,
here.
yeah. What makes more benefit to you? Just you coaching or doing something else like in the yard, or you fix it?
Yeah,
I really don't want to see you fixing your air conditioner. So
no,
yeah,
won't do
no,
it.
uh,
Even a capacitor, I know how to fix a capacitor. That's pretty much 101. But I'm calling my guys out here because it's done
uh,
right. It's warranted and I know how that works. So
yeah, no,
let the pros do it.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so obviously, so you did but the place you managed wasn't you said like $4 billion that food distribution you were doing down in Florida then.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
So
big boy.
so well, it is in between that and your automotive ownership business, and listen, this is where I'm going to go out by. I'm not going to bash AirServe, but I'm going to bash Neighborly a little bit. You've got some real life, what I call experience running a business.
Mm,
And so, you may not have ran an HVAC business, but you've ran a business. I listen to these guys called Barn Talk, a couple farmers from Southeast Iowa that talk. They talk farming, but it's still business,
mm,
and and of course, if you own a business, you're automatically rich, which isn't true, number one. Number two, you understand the strifes and the issues with running a business and its ups and downs and P&Ls and balance sheets. And you, from my perspective, uh, I've had 15 franchise consultants, by the way,
mhm,
one five. So just FYI, you're probably the second one I've had that actually knew what the hell balance sheet was.
mm.
Everybody you talk P&L, but know what a balance sheet is. Understand how the money you're spending that you maybe should or should not be spending is going to affect your overall health of the business. And it was the fact for you, and this is why I wanted to have you on. To usually circle trades, we're talking about getting young people into the trade, but wanted to evolve this a little bit. And why I wanted to have you on is talk about the business side. And I don't care if you're an air serve or if you're running an automotive distribution business, or food distribution or auto shop. There's a business side to this, and want to talk about that a little bit, and then I just want to talk about kind of what you're seeing in the economy this year because it's been a little bit different than what's been the last couple of years. So
Yep.
let's talk about let's talk about P&Ls and balance sheets for like and everybody, oh, this sucks, who wants to hear about this and more. But you know what, if you don't know what the hell P&L and a balance sheet is and you're in a business, you might want to check yourself at the door
Yeah.
and maybe go
Yeah.
find something else to go to. Am I wrong in
No,
saying that?
no, you're not. And honestly, outside of, undercapitalization for small businesses, I think, financial ignorance is probably the number two detriment to a small business. Which you could probably loop capitalization into that financial ignorance. But absolutely, it's timely and accurate financials. Why do we need them? Well, we should. A lot of small business owners will do checkbook management,
Oh,
meaning,
I know that feeling, yeah.
yeah, I have money in my checking account. I feel like I
i'm
have a good
i'm good.
understanding. Yeah, I feel like I have a good understanding of where I am financially, but until you're not, because all those payments are delayed. You know, all that money has to come out to that vendor at some point, right?
Yeah.
Royalties, if you're in a franchise organization, that money's going to come out at some point. Have you, in your mind, do you understand what's going on? And to a certain point, you probably can. But
Mm-hmm.
how scalable is that? How big can your business get before you fall behind? And then how detrimental is that fall behind, that action that's taking place in your business at that point in time? How detrimental is that to falling back to you and in your van by yourself again, or even worse, potentially in bankruptcy because you weren't mindful of that? Now, I will say that a lot of folks that are getting in the trades are getting into it because they can see the financial benefits, right? It's, the longevity of the role, the growth, all these things. So we get a lot of technical folks that are really good visual learners, that are really good with their hands, feel really comfortable with them in a machine or them in whatever.
Absolutely.
Um, but you get them in front of a computer and you start talking these numbers, they feel like they're back in school, which they probably tried to avoid to begin with, is why they're in the trades, because they didn't want to go to college and mess with all that stuff. So, but what you have to understand is it's really not what it's, I say rocket surgery. It's not rocket surgery. If you can add, subtract, multiply, and divide for the most of the things that you're going to do in a small business world from an accounting standpoint, you can do enough to understand where your business is and if you're healthy or not. Now, that's why we hire and spend lots of money on accountants who did go get their degree and do understand the finer side of financials. And we use them, we leverage them to help our business.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But you have to have a certain understanding to be able to manage it on a daily basis.
I will tell you, and this is one of my biggest beefs with the franchise. And but you but you hit on. I started in 2009. I'm that guy who can fix anything. Want to be a business owner, and I'll be the first one to tell you when I walked into this, I had to do a financial plan for my bank to get a loan to start out, and it was an SBA loan, 2009, and if I went back to that, I look at that plan today, it's a friggin' joke. I had no clue
Mhm.
what I was talking about. Whether it's cost of goods, expenses, and how and you know if you're my primary greatest example is with a gal that I hired as an accountant. She worked for a charity. You know what charities don't have? Cost of goods. You know what contracting business has? Cost of goods.
Mm. Yeah.
and, I,
And they
and
ring
I
up pretty heavily, right? They're not paid instantly. So it's not cash in, cash out. It's not on a cash basis, generally on accrual.
yeah.
But that bill comes due, and folks will do is like, oh, I didn't realize that my cost of goods are so high, materials and labor were so high. Maybe I won't pay all of that material bill this month. I'll wait, and then it accumulates, and then that next month never comes in because you don't know, and then you're taking out a loan to pay your equipment bill that you should have already paid off through your cost of goods. And what are we talking about? We're talking about pricing.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand, what your cost of goods are, really how your financials are looking on a monthly basis, you're probably not going to have a really good idea of where you are from a pricing standpoint.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
yeah, and pricing's a big part of that. I mean, we talked through that. Well, I was gonna go back and say when I talk about balance sheet, I did not understand until 2013. I lost money that year, point blank.
mhm,
But what I did not understand was the balance, how my balance sheet affects everything. And my banker said you can have the prettiest freaking profit and loss statement in the world, but if your balance sheet looks like dog shit, and no one understands that. I mean, your balance sheet's your liabilities that ain't showing up on your P&L. It's your
right.
trucks. It's all your, some people put boats and whatever else they add into. How many freaking toys are you paying for? Are you run this as a business, or are you running, running all
Yep.
your fun stuff through the business? So,
Yep. You'll see
but
a
no,
lot of that for sure.
oh yeah, but
Um,
you talk about that being priced right, but it all comes together. It's one big piece.
it does. You use that as a reference, and it's what we call a lag measure. So it's not an instant, where's my business at? It's that one point in time, and if you do a good job of getting all your bills in on a monthly basis and you close out, then you'll have a decent, picture of what that looks like. Now we know in the HVAC and the seasonal side of things, which most trades are, or like somewhat seasonal.
Yeah.
That ebbs and flows pretty heavily, depending on where you are in the U.S., right? So here in Texas, we have a very steep bell curve where we do a lot of our business in the summer months. Now up north, as hadn't been recently, not great winters, but you'll have kind of a wave. That summer will still be there, but on the corners, January, February, then you get March, April dips down pretty heavily. You get back up in the summers, and then out towards that September, October time frame dips, and then you get back in December area, November, December.
You feel like you're riding your 14-foot John boat out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and you are. Um, so that is the problem. The equation we have to solve for in HVAC and a lot of seasonal businesses is how do I maintain cash in my bank to cover some of those low times? How do I maintain enough business to keep my staff at a level to where I can maximize my peaks and not have to lay off or lose people in the down times, right? Or what we call a shoulder season, right?
I hate that
Um,
term. I hate that term, by the
I
way.
know
Shoulders.
that's why I
I
said it. I
forget.
want to rile you up
Yeah,
on
I
this.
like what the. I don't let my mind. I said what the. No, I said if you say slower season, fine. Shoulder season, it's like no. I just
I know
whatever.
I had to throw that in there. If I think of any other ones that you don't like, I'm gonna try to throw them in here too. So,
Well,
but we'll see how it goes.
the end for Naval is like the end for Nebraska. If it's got an N that starts with the name, there's probably a chance I'm not going to like the damn thing, especially if it's got red in it.
Well, that's fair considering you every time you go too far, you're probably seeing that Nebraska red where you live.
Oh yeah,
So
well, when your shop's a mile from the Nebraska border, it's kind of hard not to see it.
that's what I'm
So,
saying.
hell, my
Yeah,
shop's on Nebraska Avenue, and they said, "How the heck did you manage it?" I said, "I got a Hawkeye flag in my office." I said, "It's okay." So,
yeah.
but
Well, I'm a Matt Rule fan, so he's over there in Nebraska. I think he's going to turn things around. But
I think he's gonna too. I think they'll make it to a bowl this year, but yeah, it'll be
he's
yeah.
he does well, except for the NFL. He wins where he goes, and I think college he's got that figured out. I wish he'd be back at Baylor, but
Mm,
you know
You know,
we
let,
can't all have number one defenses and number 165 offenses.
oh yeah, that it's great. Hey, we got a new OC this year. I had a dream last night that Iowa scored 42 points in a freaking game, and they scored 4 touchdowns. I don't know if that's a
Wow,
premonition or what that
we're
is, but I'm
going.
like, damn, we have an offense
Well, mark this video. I'll be interested to see what this next season looks like, and then
again.
we'll start
Yeah,
paying more attention to these. Maybe you have a Simpsons thing going on here where you're
yeah.
predicting the future.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well, don't worry. My friend Todd Studer that does this production for me. I'm sure he'll have it marked right there. So he
that's
was
right.
doing some cool stuff for me on last week. So, but
Well,
no,
back to the balance sheets and the P&Ls here. Yeah, so spend the time. If you have to get a coach to teach you, if you have to go to, I mean, there's right now there's nothing you don't have at your fingertips to learn. We are in a point in history where if you want to know something, you can know it. There's a
yes,
billion YouTube videos. There's classes. There's coaches. There's so much out there for you to learn. There's really no excuse for you not to know something.
mm-hmm.
And again, this stuff is not complicated. It's actually much less complicated than a wiring diagram or something. I mean, that's a lot harder for most people. It would take probably a generally educated college kid or to go and learn that wire diagram, much more time to learn that than it would be for somebody going into business to learn how to read a P&L or a balance
Mm-hmm.
sheet.
Yeah,
Right. It's not. So once that P&L ends, what gets people from a cash flow standpoint is that debt service, right? They don't
yeah,
understand that all these liabilities, these long term and short term liabilities, so their vans and their property, the buildings, things like that. Maybe some of the more expensive equipment that they have. Um,
mm-hmm.
Duct cleaning machine, or in my space, an air an AC machine like a Robin
Mm-hmm.
Air or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, pulls away. So if you're 2% profit on the bottom line and your debt
Yeah,
service 4%, guess what?
you're losing money.
You just pay
Wow.
2% out of your own savings or
Or
whatever
what?
to run
Well,
your business.
and that's the thing, you know. So when people are talking about financing or paying cash or doing, well, you know, whatever else. So I mean that, you know, that you're 100% right on that. So you know, it's like, you know, you're always better if you can pay cash versus finance it, or you know, debt service is something, you know, and some people don't like the guy, but my wife, Bill Reed, now I want to say Bill Ranby, the meteorologist. Oh God, you know
Dave
who I'm
Ramsey?
talking? Dave Ramsey. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, Dave Ramsey. Yeah, they talk about him. You know, and you know, my wife, she's 100% on that personally. Business wise, a little bit different just because of the volume of business, but really the philosophy doesn't change, and so you have to stay on top of it. You know, the less money, the less you have to borrow, the better off you are. Unfortunately, in business, sometimes you have to borrow money. You're not always going to have 50 grand laying around just to go buy a truck or
Yeah.
do whatever. And do you really need, you know, the asset? I mean, I will tell you, and you know, we've started a plumbing business, and you know, you talked to us about cash flow back in December, January. Came up with a sheet that nobody else has came up with in 15 years of me owning a business that I really appreciated now, because we sunk quite a bit of, you know, capital into the plumbing. Now that's starting to come back around in a very
Right.
positive way on the plumbing side. But boy, you know, if I had to see that, I'd be like, where the hell's all my money going? Because guess what? Between, you know, kind of breaking even in February, March, and HVAC side, and then dumping money into the plumbing side, it's
Yeah.
like we need to put a stop in the DM so it
Yeah.
stops leaking. But
Well, I think you touch on a big point there too, is that's growth. Now that could have been growth into, your air serv business through some like more capacity, but you grew into another trade because of the profitability of your company. And I know the media and some of these other places will just say profits are terrible and all the companies care about is profit. Well, you don't grow without profit. You don't make it without profit. Profit is not an option in business, and if you don't have it at some point, um, you're not going to make it unless you are a nonprofit, right? And even that's,
even nonprofits,
financial
there's people that make
shenanigans.
money. It just
Yeah.
shows nothing. You're not, yeah. Somebody's making money on the whole deal.
They still have to sustain themselves financially, right? So
Yeah.
uh, you're not no none of these trades owners out there are nonprofits. They
Mm-hmm.
may not be turning a profit, but that's not intentional. And it comes down to, are we mindful? And the other thing that a P&L will tell you is, especially the way we do it, is, we break it up into classes. So if we have a service problem, we know we have a service problem. If we have an installation problem, we know we have an installation. It could be IAQ, it could be, commercial, whatever, right? We can
Yeah.
focus in on where that is, and that's vital, especially in a larger business as you scale up. Where is
Job,
my true problem?
job costing,
Oh
job
yeah,
costing. And honestly, I don't look at my job costing stuff enough, and I should. But you know, there's times when I feel like I'm cash poor. You know, I feel like we're busy as shit at cash poor. It's like, well, let's
yep,
go at a job cut. Oh, maybe we need to raise our price $1,500, or maybe everybody's giving stuff away like they felt like they were in March and April. You know, it's like, well, how cheap can we do this? Well, I said I'd rather not have it. That I've kind of got a point that I'd rather not have the work than do it and take a loss on it, because all it is
yeah.
more debt for me to take on. You know, if I buy equipment and do whatever else, we're not making any money, and it's like, that you know that not
So
a
that's that decision that we have to make right during the slower times. Is I've got to keep guys busy.
mm-hmm.
Overhead is still there. I still have to go in and pay for this overhead. So
Yeah.
what's my walk away point? And if you have good solid financials and numbers, we can kind of calculate, what's that walk away point, either if you're doing tech sales or you're doing, a home comfort designer, what we call the in-home sales representative.
I don't
Um,
have one of them, by the way, but
yeah,
we'll talk
yeah.
about that another time.
But I mean, it's yeah, and so you do tech generated leads and sell closes where the industry will have a lot of comfort designers. They'll send sales representatives into the home to help them build their system. Um, so and I kind of got off my point here, whatever that may have been, but um, so reel me back in here, Travis. We were talking
Well,
about profitability and being able
yeah,
to
we're
separate
well,
the
yeah, you'd be able to.
classes.
Well, class codes, job costs, and that's the thing. You got to be able to do that stuff to be able to take a look. And what it does with your financials, and whether it's like with your job as a franchise business coach, or if you're talking with somebody that's independent that that does it. Realistically, I have you as a franchise business coach, and then I actually have a local guy named Jason Hamer that I use as a business coach for being Hayden in our business.
Mhm.
Um, and you kind of look at it, go, why? Well, I'm going to tell you what, I can look at things, and Hayden can look at things, and you can look at things, and sometimes your perspective can shift just a little bit. It can change your business a whole lot by just a little bit of a shift in perspective.
Oh yeah.
And it's good to have that extra set of eyes on it, taking a look at what you're doing. So there's something that came up last week. This is a question right up your alley.
All right.
This was on a discussion group. And of course, good old Travis likes to stir the pot.
Yeah.
I
That's,
would never do such a thing.
I'll see if
So,
I get in trouble here.
okay. So if a person has a business coach, what should, if you're a business owner, HVAC, whatever it is, what should your expectation be? And if you're a owner that's using a business coach, what should you get out of that business coach? What kind of information as an owner should be digging for? I
Hmm.
had my answer, which I'm not sure is very popular, because my thought is you just got to work harder. You got to dig in. You got to ask questions. Your business coach, your franchise, your supplier, they're not going to fix your problems. They can help guide you, but at the end of the day, you got to make your own decision. But if you were looking for a business coach today, doing what you do, and you deal with business owners, what would you, if you're looking for a good business coach, what you want to get out, what you want the owners to get out of your group of business coaches, because you have a group of them now, what do you want the owners to be able to get out of your business coaches?
Yeah. So that's a great question, and that should be your first conversation with your business coach. Your business coach needs to find out where your business is. So that's why timely and accurate financials are so important, because that business coach can take those documents, read them, maybe point out some things that you haven't seen, probably because you haven't spent the time because you're managing a business and time is at a premium.
Mm-hmm.
They need to find out, what are your biggest problems, that are
Mm-hmm.
inhibiting your business from either growing and being profitable or both potentially. What level of leader are you? Growing your ability as a leader to build a good culture. So we have to look at all the different acumens of business, from marketing, from managing the field, from financial acumen to HR policies and procedures, which I know from a small business that's largely missing. One of the first things I'll ask is, do you have a handbook?
I do. I do. I
Yeah,
do.
most don't. Shockingly enough, and you've got to start there. You've got to have a rule book of how we're going to treat each other and conduct our business, and what does our time off policy look like. So really, that's step one. So you have to look at all these different business acumens and say, where are you strong, where are you weak, and that's what the first couple of conversations come down to, because what you'll know, Travis, is me talking to you as a business owner, then me going to talk to somebody else that is doing limited sales amount. They're just getting off the ground. Those are two different coaching conversations.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
So what
So,
I'll ask is, we have to ask. So coaches have to ask very leading questions to bring you down a road to get out. You probably don't even know what you need to work on yet. So a
no.
good coach will ask all the leading questions and really get down to, okay, with the help of the financial documents and some of the other things that you'll provide, what's really going on in this business. Does Travis wants to grow 16% this year. So, all right, how do we accomplish that? So we start with where are you at? What are you good at? What do you do poorly? Kind of a SWOT analysis with your business as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to the next phase. Okay, what do you personally need to improve on? What does your business need to improve on? Get some of those fundamentals, blocking and tackling items in place, and they should keep you on target, right? So a business
Mm-hmm.
coach is there to, you said that you're committed to this. This is what you want to do. They're a coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to win a state championship, but nobody wants to run the wind sprints after practice. Well, a business coach is there to say, "Hey, Travis,
You got
you don't have
one.
where are your financials.
Hey, fat
I
ass,
need."
you got to ride your wind sprints.
And the good thing is, keeping timely and accurate financials are probably easier for all of us at this point in our lives to run wind sprints or do
Mm-hmm.
anything that's what we did when we were kids. So,
Yeah.
but it's still painful for many to do that. But we
I,
should kick you in the tail a little bit to say, hey, this is what you have to do to grow your business. You made that commitment. Let's go.
I will tell you, I finally got accountant, and here's where I get in trouble with you guys. Is like I don't send my fantasy. Actually, since last year, I hired a new accountant. Her name's Rachel Dorr. She's from Oakland, Iowa. She's really good at what she does. She's a small bit. I've got my financials by the 20th of every month. You know how I
Yep.
know? Because they file my state sales tax for me.
Yep.
It's like,
Yep.
oh, my financials must be about done.
Yep.
Not
There you
done.
go.
Oh, I
Well,
got to write that check to the state. Shit.
Well, that's the other part too. That sales tax portion of not keeping up with your sales and the taxes come in due. And some people pay them depending on where you are quarterly or I don't know if yearly is. I'm sure that's an option in some places, but that'd
Oh
be
God,
tough. Yeah, we decided to pay ours
no.
monthly just so we would take because sometimes that's a pretty big chunk of change if you're not mindful of it. So there's
Uh,
some
uh,
strategies we can do for businesses that struggle with that. Profit First is a good book. Now, I don't know if I would go to the extreme that book recommends for the number of accounts that you have, because that can get complicated. But maybe a sales tax account if you struggle with that. I think in the book they recommend account for every single part of your business, and I'm trying to make business a little easier for my owners, not more
oh my
complicated, but
God.
it has some proven results in doing that. But I definitely recommend a sales tax account
Yeah.
that you pull
It,
out.
yeah. Well, you have to. You
Yeah,
really you have to know that it's there. I mean, listen. If I have a $200,000 or $300,000 a month, and we have a lot of service work, guess what? I'm gonna have a pretty good size sales tax bill because
yeah,
you know what? If we've done 100 grand in service, well, I'm gonna probably write a $7,000 check to the state of Iowa and whatever. If we do anything over in open territory in Nebraska, it might be a couple $100 or whatever. But once a month, it's due the 20th of every month. And
yep,
unfortunately, when you do it, who's going to spend that money? Oh, I had paid my sales tax yet. That's not a good way. To do it. But you're right. But I listen. But you have to know it's there, and that's where your financials. And you got to know kind of, whatever your software is. We use Service Titan on our plumbing and our HVAC business, but I know there's other softwares on.
mhm,
There's enough stuff out there. Like I said, enough softwares, and people should be able to tell you as far as systems they get into. But going back to kind of what you said, I think for someone to take advantage of a business coach, and listen, a business coach is not going to do anything. I don't want you out fixing capacitors for me. I,
right,
you're not a marketing expert per se. Now you have people that work for you, and every coach or whatever is something that you can't do it all yourself. There's a reason why listen. I don't do any of my own marketing. And if you
mhm.
looked at my Facebook page, you'd understand why. I'd market to three people and I'd be broke. So I
Yeah,
hire a company that does my marketing that's outside the franchise and whatever else. And I've had real good success with it. You're not a marketing person per se either, but you have to do to grow a business for an HVAC. We're a needs business. Nobody wants the HVAC guy just showing up at their house usually.
right,
But you have to be top of mind at marketing and just with other stuff. So I think you have to take a look at your business and what you need. And you go to a coach and you say, here's what I need. Can you help me to this point? And you can put a roadmap. But at the end of the day, it's up to you or me in this case if I want to follow that roadmap. It's kind of like going to the doctor. Doctor could tell me I need to start taking my meds or I'm going to drop over dead. It's my decision if I'm going to start taking the meds or not, or probably
Right.
my wife's decision at that point. She'll say, yeah, you're going to take the meds. But that's the
Yeah,
whole thing.
it is no doubt, and you know, we are a strong theory on the coaching side. You are all the business owners out there are the ones that are doing the execution of those theories, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
but what a good business coach will have action items that are related to the overall success of whatever the objectives are.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say, okay, Travis, you don't have timely and accurate financials. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to find a good bookkeeper or somebody in your area that can take a look at this, and then give me an update on where you are next week when we have this call, depending on whatever interval. Sometimes it's monthly, bi-weekly, weekly.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, when I start out with a client, or if I were doing independent, coaching or through the franchise, um, we want to start out with getting all the small things done first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
lists, and I want to start out. So because of that, I need probably a weekly meeting. Now that would be from us. We're we're provided as part of the franchise. Business coaches are. I mean, obviously, you would pay quite a bit of money for a business coach, a weekly business coaching call. So if you're in a franchise, I'd get into that cadence, whatever your pocketbook allows, depending on what your value you're getting out of that coach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe weekly as you're starting. Now, for you, Travis, somebody that's been around in business, probably a monthly, every 2 week or monthly meetings, fine. What people don't really realize from the coaching standpoint is I don't need a coach. I know all this stuff. Great. But you don't. And having another set of eyes is really good. Having somebody else that cares about your business beside yourself is never a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Um, and the sad part of coaching is sometimes the coach will care more about the business than the owner does. And when you're in that
Uh,
situation, you know that that's probably not going to lead to growth.
well, and that's
So
where it's kind of like you need to decide if you want to do this or get the hell out or sell
that's
or
it.
you're gonna go under, and that's where you hear, and this is always my thing, and there's groups out there that you go to. There's all kinds of HVAC stuff, but I'll sit there in owners groups. Well, what about so and so or something's supposed to do that or something's supposed to do that? I said, last time I checked, when I started my business, it's my name, it's my reputation, it's everything on the line. So if I can't make this work, it's on me.
Mhm.
And so, I could blame the franchise. And I learned this in 2013. This is kind of why I go off sometimes. You lose money, you find out who your friends are, but you also learn a hell of a lot more from your mistakes than you ever do. You learn a lot more from getting your ass beat than you do from victory, period.
Oh yeah.
And and you find out when things hurt and you don't like to hurt, so you don't make that mistake again, because guess what, it don't hurt if you don't make that mistake.
So you're that's right. And you're pointing something out. What is a business coach? What's the value of business coach? Hopefully to help you avoid some of those mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
right? That to those tripwires, those potholes, they can see them and you don't know about them. Maybe they can help you avoid some. Now, what I what I've seen many times is, well, we can help provide a path that avoids some of those potholes, but sometimes, to your point, the hard lessons have to be learned by business owners, and they do what they want to do anyway. And there's never a "I told you so." It's like, okay, now we have a bigger hill to climb. So
It's like you made the yep. Listen, you made this mess. You gotta dig yourself out of that mess now,
that's it.
and it happens. No, it absolutely happens. And so my thing is, you have to be diligent. If you're a business owner, for me, I'm a tech. I grew up as a tech. I can do install. I'm not great, but if I'm on install or if I'm doing service right now, I'm losing money for the company. That's not my role at this point.
Right.
My role is to make sure we got work and that we're being profitable, and that I'm keeping guys employed, because not only do I employ their people, I employ their families too. Because no one wants to eat ramen, as I say. You know,
Yeah.
and it's our job, my job, to make sure that we're keeping. We're taking care of customers, and I'm keeping people employed, and we're doing a good job and a good service, and continue to grow. what we do. I don't think
Yeah.
that changes for business. I don't care if you're a franchise or not a franchise, but at the end of the day, you can be mad at everybody else and say, well, my franchise didn't do this, or my bookkeeper didn't do this, or my marketing. At the end of the day, it's your name that's on it. So if you
That's
don't
it.
like the way something's working, then you have to make a change. But if you're not willing to listen and not make, you're going to have that problem. And it's a conversation that I have with people. And that's why I rub them wrong. It's like, you can be mad, but at the end of the day, it's about you. And that's why I tell my kid, my son with his phone stuff, he had an issue with a client. Whole previous work had been done by somebody else that left the pipes in the wall. There was a leak, whatever, and the guy went after me. And I said, well, there's two parts to this. I said, you want to do right by the customer because integrity is everything. But at the same time, you're going to have to go deal with this situation. And you know what? They're not always pleasant. The only thing you do is try to rectify the situation and move forward. And unfortunately, sometimes not everybody's happy when it comes out of it.
Hmm.
So, but you try to do your best and move on. So, but
Yeah, I think we are a very customer centric business philosophy. Um, and I think that's the right way to do it. We're not a turn and burn, overwhelm our technician kind of scenario. We want to spend time with our customers. We want to, really understand what's going on with their system. Try to be as proactive as we possibly can. And I'm sure, through your plumbing business, that's a lot of the same approach. We
it,
want to make sure the customer is taken care of because it's not only the best way to do business, it's the right thing to do as well.
yeah.
So if you
Well,
can maintain that level, you're going to be. If you're not good at marketing, you may grow slowly, but as long as you keep that as your prism that you see through, and that is as your beacon light of your business, you're probably never going to go wrong.